And we're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show, Agency Operators Podcast. My name is Pasha. Today, I have Will Lawrenson with me from Customers Who Click, conversion rate optimization agency based out of the UK. How you doing, Will?
Hi, yeah, really good. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I'm glad you can make it. As always, I love to start out just asking about a little bit about you. Um, your roots. How did you become so granular in picking an agency specifically for conversion rate optimization? It's usually the type of thing that I see a lot of agencies, they just kind of pile in along with other types of mediums like paid and managing all different kinds of content and marketplaces, but you narrow down, and I know you were able to scale a team for that specifically. So how did you end up with conversion rate optimization? Where were your starting points?
Yeah, so I think I kind of fell into it, to be honest. I got, I guess, lucky with the way my career went. Right, I started in a kind of startup sort of company, like an incubator. So I got very quickly got the ability and the chance to touch on pretty much everything in marketing, work with different marketing channels, different teams, work on some website development and optimization and stuff. And that company got hit by a Google penalty. So it's when I think it was Penguin and Panda were the two big updates. Then they got hit by the penalty. Their organic traffic left or disappeared, which is how they'd grown the company. And so it was very much like, right, how do we optimize things? How do we get everything else working properly so that we can mitigate the loss of this SEO traffic? So that was the start. But then there were two companies I moved to afterwards, which it was almost the exact same experience, right? So both were funded startups, both kind of digital first products. So we could see a lot of data, like usage data and stuff. Um, both very similar acquisition channels and tactics, right? We advertise to a landing page. We would get people to create an account, and then once they create an account, they can get on with their subscription or buying the service. At both those places, the marketing team, which I was running the UK side of, was basically told, "Here's your budget, here's your money, go acquire customers, go grow the company." And it doesn't really work like that, right?
Mhm.
You can't just start spending money and expect to see results just because you've built what you think is a good product. So I started to do customer research, right? I started to look into the data to see, what looked like a good customer, what looked like a bad customer. How could we leverage, apply levers to those metrics to try and get people to stick around more. For other people, it was convert from just an account into at least a trial at times, and yeah, all this different stuff about moving from basically a sign up to a trial to a conversion to a paying subscriber. And actually, I remember one test that we ran was credit card versus no credit card on sign up for the trial, and we found that no credit card was the best option,
Mm.
because you would get a much higher number of people through the door, but then the people who want to use it would actually stick with you. They'd put their card details in. You drop a reminder, um, whereas we'd have far more people drop off at the end of a trial, but out of a smaller pool of people. So I think we worked out that after 3 months, we were about 15% up, with the no credit card rate, people. So a nice big increase, and obviously at that point we've got a big pool of people. We've got some data on them. We've got them to use the service. So then we can just nurture them over time and hopefully convert them. But anyway, started to do this customer research, figure out what was wrong with our landing pages, our messaging, our products, and then kind of work with the product team to try and fix that. And that's kind of, I guess that was the start of it, right? I just really got interested in that side of things, and wasn't really interested in the advertising side, like running Facebook ads, PPC campaigns and things. Just no real interest in it, to be completely honest. It was email flows, email automation, customer feedback, and then how do we give people a good experience? How do we make sure that that they want to come back and use it? And it was in the second company that I kind of came up with this idea for myself, which was uh, the advertise well, like email marketing should be the last resort to try and get people to convert, right? We should get the traffic in, but the website, the landing page, the product has to do the job. If it's not doing its job, then no number of emails is going to grow this company properly. We want to be picking up the leftovers with email, right? If that makes sense. And then 2 companies in a row. I moved to be head of conversion for a big gambling company here in the UK. Did that for about 18 months, and then left shortly before COVID to launch my agency, which wasn't the best timing, but it's worked out. Here we are.
Very cool. I mean, you survived. That tells a lot. Not everybody survived. So, people still want better conversion on their website.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so
absolutely.
a lot of that was kind of service based, but I guess you guys are really focused on direct to consumer e-commerce, right? Which is a little bit different, I imagine. The whole credit card, not credit card thing. That's just an example, I guess, of split testing certain type of parameters. But how does that differ in the e-commerce space?
Um, I'd say not massively. This was still direct to consumer stuff, right?
Hmm.
It was still B2C. Um, and the principles that we now apply at customers who click still apply on both, and really they could apply on B2B, and even and kind of enterprise, but you do it in a very different way, because you generally involve a salesperson. Um, but ultimately, we're still looking at uh, it's our methodology, which is the UAM method, right? So
Hmm.
usability, does the website work, and how quickly and easily can I find and buy or sign up for or take the action that I've come to do, right? How easy is that for me to do, right? The second piece is anxiety. Does the website answer my questions about the product? Does it deal with my concerns about the business, right? So anything I need to know, can I find this information on your website? And then also, who are you as a business? Do I trust you? Do other people trust you? Do I feel like I've found the right product, and do I feel like I've found the right business to buy that product from? And then we've got motivation, which is, what are the pain points I'm trying to move away from, or the desired outcomes that I'm trying to move towards and achieve? And can I see that on the website? Right? Do I feel like, I'm looking at the images on your product pages, or the description that you've put on there, or specifications, wherever the content is? Do I see the result that I'm trying to achieve with this product? If yes, I'm going to be thinking, cool. Well, it's all my questions are answered. It's the right product. It's going to do the job. I'll buy it. But if you don't have any of those three, even if you're missing one, you can really really impacts conversion rates, right? So if I get all that motivation factor in there, and I can say to you, take this supplement for 30 days and we guarantee you'll lose 20 pounds, whatever, that sort of thing, you might go, cool, that sounds really good, but I have questions about the ingredients, right? I need to know what ingredients are in there because I might have an allergy. If I can't get the answer to that question, I can't buy the product, right?
Right.
Because it might kill me, right? So I need to
Yeah.
know. I've got to know that. And in the same way, you can answer all those questions, right? I can be thinking, it's the product is the right dimensions, the right size, the right color, the right material, whatever. But if at the end of the day, if we're talking about, I don't know, a standing desk or something, if I'm looking at it and going, it's a desk, it's a good option for me. It fits my requirements. But you're not wowed by it. The temptation there is to either just not buy and kind of sit on it for a bit and think, well, maybe I'll deal with it later, or I'll have a look at some other websites. But if you get that wow factor in there, people are like, I want to get this now,
Mm.
right? And it's not necessarily a scarcity urgency thing where we're saying, buy it now and get it tomorrow sort of thing. It's more just like, I want to experience this, right? This is going to solve a problem for me, or it's going to give me a benefit. I want to start receiving that benefit now or as quickly as possible, so I'll buy it, right? So
Yeah,
that's our methodology there. And obviously the usability piece, if it's a nightmare to use the website, that's going to cause you a problem.
very cool. And what about discoverability as like a first step, like you were talking a little bit about the SEO piece. So once people are on, getting them basically to buy with all of these levers that you just outlined, that's fully clear. I know that, this is the kind of analysis that gets done by off the call we were talking a little bit earlier about podcasting. I'm sorry, we were talking about Amazon and how they have an entire system that they've engineered for optimal conversion rate, and you know websites don't typically convert as well as Amazon for that reason. So I guess what you're doing is basically saying, okay, Amazon makes it super easy for people to get all of that information and make it easy for them to buy it, and that's why people convert so well over there. So you're kind of replicating that system over to the website. But what about just being discovered, like in the Google search? Is there anything, like, I guess, on the SEO side that can be easily implemented? Um, yeah.
I mean, SEO is not my thing, so I can't really comment on that. Yeah, in fact, it's funny because you've picked probably the one marketing channel that I know the least about, and I and I know there's so much going on there. Yeah, so I can't. Yeah, I can't. I can't really feed into that, unfortunately.
No worries. I mean, like I said earlier, you're really, focused on the conversion piece. So that's what matters, right? That's what you guys focus on.
Yeah.
So how does your team kind of break down in terms of, like, maybe, like, what are the primary focuses? Like, is it one person focuses on one particular aspect or lever, so to speak, or there's just multiple layers? So like somebody's on like more of like the strategy, somebody's more on the design. Could you speak a little to that?
Yeah, it's more the latter. So we'll have people looking more at the strategy side, the research side, um, the analysis, and then we've got designers, developers. So once we've identified what the problems are with the website, we've come up with some hypotheses and some potential solutions. We then pass that to the kind of almost like the execution side of the team, which is design the test. Do we like the look of it? Do we think this is solving the problem? And then we pass it on to development. They build it, we run the test, and then it comes back to the first team to do that post test analysis. What went right, what went wrong, how did it perform against our hypothesis in the first place, and importantly, and this is what a lot of people miss, is what do we do next with this test? So
Hmm.
whether it's a winning or losing test, there still has to be a next step to it, right? The reason we ran a test is because the research essentially told us to. So if the test goes well, then our hypothesis has been proven, and we should see how much further we can leverage that. Right? There's always we can do better, right? If the original version wasn't that good or wasn't optimal, our version is a bit better. There must be another version which is better than that. But at the same time, if a test has a negative result, we still ran that test for a reason because the research told us to, your customers told us to, essentially. So what did we get wrong with this? Was it the execution of the test? Was it the research? Um, do we need to do this test in a different way to get the result that we were hoping for? So that kind of basically circles back to the first side of the team, the strategy, research, analysis side, and then we kind of keep looping things.
And what about design? So in some cases, somebody will have great assets, right? They've had photo shoots done, or they had graphics designers make assets for them. So I imagine that's a very big piece of it. What happens if they don't really have much to work with? I mean, what could you really do there?
Sometimes if they don't have much to work with, that's better because we can kind of help point them in the right direction for things.
Mm.
Um, I know every brand wants to have really nice pictures of their products.
Mhm.
There's only so many angles of a product that someone needs to see as a plain product picture, right? You should always be thinking, what are we actually trying to show with this picture? So let's say it's some clothing or something. If you show a top, like a t-shirt or something, you obviously want to show a flat picture of it, right? You just want to get people to clearly see what this product looks like. But then if you did like the back of it, and then it's difficult to get other angles, but if you had like 4 or 5 just plain pictures of the t-shirt, 3 of those pictures or anything more than front and back really adds nothing for the customer.
Mhm.
So you need to be thinking, well, what can we do with this? And that's obviously why you see a lot of models wearing clothing, right? Because it gives you a feel for what this actually looks like.
Right.
And then what we've seen, particularly in fashion, is in the details and the description, you'll often get, the model is wearing a size M or whatever. But our approach is kind of, well, why separate those 2 pieces of information? Why have the t-shirt image over here with the person, and then your little piece of information about the detail is over here, where someone's got to go find it? Why not state on the image this
Mm.
person is wearing a size M, right? So
Oh, great.
you were talking about Amazon earlier, right? look at look at products on Amazon, right? You normally get the normal, the hero image, the plain product image, and then pretty much everything after that is annotated and graphic
Correct.
designed,
Yeah.
and it gives you information. And some industries, it doesn't work quite as well. Fashion, you're not going to be able to annotate that much, but you can still point out, that the USPs of your clothing, right? So you could simply talk about the materials and stuff, or you could say it's a size M. You could also point out that it's made of a particularly stretchy material, so that it fits. So you don't have to worry about your fit so much. Whatever. That's a great opportunity there to say, you know, great that you've got these images, but let's do more with them,
Mm.
right? You've got the person's attention. The image gallery on probably every single product page we've ever looked at, the image gallery has been the most clicked, most interacted with piece on that page,
Yeah. And
right?
and and
So
on Amazon, that's what we do is,
yeah,
like you said, hero image, and then everything else after that, including the video, is all about USPs. It's all about
why should
infographics.
people buy it?
Why?
Not what
Yeah,
does it
you're
look
you're
like?
you're putting all of the content that you've made with the bullet points and the description and all of this kind of lengthy stuff, and you're condensing and consolidating all of that into very short sentences that can be put one sentence per photo, and hoping that that'll be enough for people to really understand the product, why it's unique, why they
Yeah.
can justify the price point, and then if they really want to, they can go and see all the other content. But what we see a lot is that's enough.
Well, an example that I remember I was looking for the product, and it stood out to me so much. I saved the image and used it in some content. It was a pressure cooker, or like well, it wasn't just a pressure cooker. It was like what was the brand called? Oh, it was like the number one brand for ages. It's not Ninja though, because Ninja's the new one that is everywhere. Anyway,
Yeah.
it was like a pressure cooker, a rice cooker, a yogurt cooker. It could bake dough, bake bread and stuff, whatever. It had like 9 functions, and all of these functions were listed on the picture. Right. So now I've got no need to go scrolling through this page to find the information I need on that, because it's on that picture there. Right. So I'm kind of I've got the information I need within 30 seconds of being on the page. And that's
Right.
for that sort of product, that's probably a really, really crucial piece of information that you want to know. Right. You see listed on the listing, it probably says like 9-in-1 functions, or whatever, something like that. So I'm probably thinking, well, I've either got one function in mind, and therefore everything else is a benefit. So as long as I get that one function, I'm like, cool, that's what I want. Oh, I could also do these things. Excellent. Well, I might as well buy this instead of buying 9 different tools. Um, or yeah, I'm in that kind of discovery phase, and I think, oh, nine options. What does it do? Cool, yeah.
Yeah. And you were mentioning, with the split testing, you're building a hypothesis on what a change will do and then measuring the results essentially before and after. What about in the case when you're doing a brand new website? There's no there's no traffic, there's no sales. Are you just kind of building from, let's follow the format that we know has worked, and then seeing if you can make split tests later on once there are results, or there is traffic to kind of measure the A/B with?
Yeah, I mean, so we don't do any brand new builds. We work with established websites. So either there is the data there and we're optimizing, or if someone really really wants to do a rebrand, or if they are replatforming or retheming or something, we'll get involved in that, and there can be a lot of work there. And in those instances, we'll do the research, right? So we always want to be looking at, what do your customers care about, right? I was actually talking to someone earlier today about this. So many website redesigns are done on the basis of, we don't like our website,
Hmm.
or we can't do the customization that we want to do on our website. And it's always like, from the brand point of view, the company journey, it's, we can't do this, we need a better version of this for XYZ reason. It's never, this is not working for our customers need this, our customers want this, that's how we should rebuild our website, or that's how we should build our website. So that's where we do get involved in some of these redesign products, and we say, look, just hold off on the build for now. Let us do a bit of research. Let's do some customer interviews. Let's get some surveys out. Let's find out what people care about, and we'll use that to kind of to make sure we've got the right messaging on the website, to make sure we've got the right features, functionality, all that sort of thing. If we were talking about a brand new build from scratch, then obviously, from a functionality point of view, use Shopify, use a theme there. It's pretty good as a default. The key things come into like your messaging and stuff and your wording. So a big pet peeve of mine is when a website has category pages that don't tell you what is in the category. So
Hmm.
so they have, branded collection pages, right? You've got no idea, so you have to open all those collections to find out what you actually want. And if you're patient, you'll do it. If you're not patient, you might just assume they don't have what you want, right? And you go somewhere else. So keep it nice and simple. Don't try and be too clever. Um, don't worry about like all these like conversion hacks and things you see talked about online. There's so much out there that, if you haven't got the basics in place, all right. So the UAM stuff, usability, like I said, Shopify with a good theme, you get a good baseline there. Focus on anxieties, motivations, and get that stuff in place about your products and your business. Then worry about putting timers and upsells and things on your website, and shipping protection and stuff like that. Right? They work, but they don't contribute anything if you haven't got those basics and fundamentals in place.
Have you seen any improvements because of added checkout options? So not just the traditional credit card, but using Amazon to check out, or having like Klarna or one of those, payment plan options. How much of that is actually important for pushing somebody to really, have the confidence to check out, or making it easy, I guess, for them is really what it is.
The one we see having the most impact by far, well, there's two now. So Shop Pay
Hmm.
is very very useful, very important, and PayPal. Um, Outside of that, Klarna does a little bit here and
Hmm.
there.
For the
It kind of
bigger things.
it does depend on a bit
Yeah.
on the business. We've done surveys, we've done research on it. The vast majority of people say they don't use it, they don't need to, or they'd rather not. Um,
Well, if you're buying a $5,000 couch or a $20 bottle of
yeah,
hairspray, or whatever, it's big difference. I bet. I don't even see really like payment options unless something's like $100 or more most of the time.
but in those situations, like the people still have the money normally.
Yeah.
Actually, I think a lot of Klarna usage is actually people who don't really have the money and they need to split those payments,
Hmm.
as opposed to someone who, if they're going to buy a $5,000 couch, they've probably got that money. If they've got a 0% finance option, they'll do it. Right? I do it. It makes sense. Right? Why
Makes sense.
why
Yeah.
wouldn't
Why?
I? Why
Yeah.
wouldn't I? But I think in the case of like Klarna and that, it's a lot of people who don't necessarily have the money, or they can't pay £150 on the day. But if they can split that into 3 payments, they can make that work. That's not really. I don't think it's really behavior we want to encourage. Um, I I've not seen. I won't specify Klarna just for this, but there's other brands as well. I've not seen them have a massive impact on brands when we've introduced them, when we've tested out the placement of that messaging and stuff. So you normally see on a PDP, pay in 3 installments,
Mhm.
whatever. A lot of kind of, how to put it, I don't want to say like your everyday e-commerce brands, but you know your like I guess like everyday clothing brands, jewelry brands, um, I don't know, supplements, sports goods, that sort of thing, where it's not a huge amount of money. We've not seen them have big uplifts, um, really. Whereas not having PayPal really really hurts.
Yeah. I bet. Um. Okay. I have another question. I'm curious about the way engagement works with your clients. So somebody comes to you, your ideal customer is somebody who already has existing website sales data. It's easy to come in and say, we've identified these are the points that need improvement. Then what? So, you'll do those improvements, you'll measure the success. Is there an ongoing type of service? Do they, you put them on a retainer, or are you charging a percent on the improvements, or on the increases, or how does that type of engagement work with you guys typically?
Yeah, so we are performance based. So we charge on the uplifts that we generate through testing. So it's always on the incremental revenue, and we can show the results, right? So we can show you, here's the data that didn't see this experience, here's the data that did. Therefore, here's the difference in the amount of money, and that's what we charge on. And then we just use pretty short term contracts. So normally 3 months, and we have it as 3 month kind of rolling engagements. Most clients stay with us 15, 18 months. And then, sometimes it does get to the point where we're not really getting many results from it. And so, we're happy to say, maybe we leave it here and we come back in a year's time and have another look. But most of the time, especially in a performance model, we're getting results. There's always different opportunities, new things come up. There's new changes in the markets, new tech comes out. So over an 18-month period, quite often there's a load of stuff that we would never have even considered when we started working with a brand,
Hmm.
because there's just those new opportunities.
Hmm. Okay. How with that being said, I mean, my mind immediately goes to, okay, you said technological advancements. There's the AI boom right now. Are there tools that you know of that are kind of coming in the space and doing what you guys are doing, but just like trying to automate it? Any
No.
AI stuff out there, or it hasn't gotten to that level yet?
I've seen some stuff used. I've seen some AI heat mapping tools,
Mm,
um, and they're not, well, as far as I'm aware, they're not actually AI. They're basically they're trained on uh, like what the ideal page should look like, and it's not. If you're not using actual data, it can't tell you anything,
yeah.
right? So okay, so in Microsoft Clarity, there's an AI support function on there, right? So the AI will look at your heat maps and provide recommendations. It can review your session recordings and provide recommendations. That's really useful. But a tool which asks you to put your web page in, or upload a picture of your website, it's not going to give you a good a good reflection of what your data would look like,
Right.
right? Because it doesn't know what your customers are doing, right? It doesn't have the context as well. For what we're doing, there will be some tools that can improve conversion rates with AI, but they will do certain things, right? So they will always be doing probably a bit more on the usability side, like the layouts of pages and trying to get people to interact with elements a bit better. What I can't see it doing anytime soon is what those elements should say, right? Because and what information should be there, because it can't know unless someone gives it that data.
Mm.
So maybe you can set up, I suppose you could set up some really like integrated tools to get that feedback, plug it straight in, but you'd have to be really, really confident that you're getting the right feedback into it. It understands the context of that feedback and how to use it, and therefore what to do with it. We use AI. We use it to uh, help us analyze and summarize data and give us feedback and reports. We just don't rely on it. Right?
Yeah.
So everything gets checked. We've done it enough so that we're confident that all our prompts and our questions are strong, and we're going to get good feedback from the tools. But we will always check it again. So if we're doing review mining, for example, we feed all the reviews in. We'll get it to its prompt. It spits out all the data. These are the key things that came up as good points, bad points, and all that. And we will always ask it to provide examples of reviews that feedback came from, with the quotes. And if it can't do that, or if it pulls back something which isn't actually a review, then we have to question it and we redo it. Normally we'll redo it again, and we have another prompt we use to kind of tell it, basically follow the rules. It's kind of what we say, and normally when we do that, we do get accurate results, and it's good.
Mm.
But we still obviously check it again. If it doesn't do it, then it goes through a manual process, and the team has to get stuck in, which is a lot of work. But I found that the same with other stuff we do for the business, right? I use it for our podcast, for content and stuff. There's so many, even and building custom GPTs as well. We'll give it the instructions. Every now and again, we'll follow this exact same process, right? So for my podcast, for example, it's got a really detailed prompt to give me the summary of the episode, a description, title, suggestions, the key points from the episode. So 10 key points with the key point, a quote from that point, and the timestamp, and then a LinkedIn post. The LinkedIn post is always terrible. That
Yeah.
never goes well.
Yeah.
But sometimes normally the summary and the description is good. It's always the titles and the insights. It always seems to do something different, and I
Mm.
don't know why.
Just
Um,
miss the essence of the content, right?
yes. So no, it follows different instructions. It's not following the
Mm.
instructions. That's the issue. So titles, I'm not too bothered about because I use it for inspiration, and then we make a title. But for those key points, sometimes it'll only do 5 instead of 10. You're like,
Ah.
why did you do that? It very specifically says do 10.
Hmm.
Sometimes it won't put a timestamp with them. Right? Sometimes it does. It'll either do just the insight or just the quote, just every now and again. But we found that normally, if you just say, "Please redo this" and follow your instructions, then it'll redo it, and normally the content is good, and it's all fine to go with. But that's for content marketing. That's for summarizing the podcast and stuff. If I need to, we can go in and fix that quite quickly. We have to be very, very confident when we're analyzing reviews for the purpose of testing or customer feedback or whatever, that it is really giving us the right stuff. So if we do start to question it, yeah, it just goes into the manual process, and we start tweaking the prompts.
Mm. Cool. You were also mentioning the heat mapping thing. Is that a real thing? I mean, I always thought heat mapping was just where your cursor is, but it's not always like clear kind of representation of where your attention is on the page. Is there any heat mapping that actually can detect your eyes, or is that like kind of against the rules for your camera, I guess, essentially to be activated? Like how does the computer know where your eyes are?
Well, there are some eye tracking tools, but it is a separate thing, and it would definitely be a this is what we're doing here. It'd be more
Yeah.
like a user testing experience where you'd say, please load this website. The tool will track where you're looking.
Hmm.
Are you okay with this? And all that sort of stuff, but that'd be a bit separate. I think the issue with the AI heat mapping tools is what it's what it's basically been taught to do is identify an image gallery, right? So when you upload your website to it, it goes, oh, there's your image gallery. That's what I've been told is the most important part of your page. So I'm going to highlight that in red,
Mm,
right? And that's the only way it can do it because there is no data. It
right.
doesn't actually know where people are clicking because it's not being told that. So that's, and then it'll identify price and a headline. It's been told this is what a product page looks like.
Mm,
Probably this is the ranking of features by importance. So build the heat map off that. If you haven't got data, it's not actually telling you anything.
makes sense. Yeah. Um, all right. One other thing, kind of backtracking a little bit, you were mentioning that you guys are a performance-based agency. So naturally, with that, my question is, are there any minimums to working with you guys? There needs to be some threshold, I imagine, if you guys are putting resources in upfront. You're obviously very confident in your work, but you probably have to do a pretty serious due diligence or a vetting process. So what do some of those minimums look like? Uh, you know, talk a little bit about your rates in case anybody who's watching may be interested. They say, okay, I have a Shopify store. We're doing this. We're looking to improve for the reasons that you listed. We don't have some of these points. What does that engagement look like?
Yeah. So for the performance offer, we're looking at about 400,000 a month in revenue, and 100 plus 100,000 plus visits per month or users per month. That gives us enough data to work with. When it gets there's kind of two issues with when you get a bit smaller than that when it comes to a performance offer. So firstly, the results that we're going to get are going to be worth less, right? So if we get, let's say, $400,000 brand or $500,000 brand and a 150 200K brand, if we get them both a 10% uplift, that's worth a decent amount of money to the bigger brand, and it's worth a decent amount of money to the smaller brand, but then we don't really get paid much for it. So that makes it harder for us to do that because we've got to commit resource to it. But the second part of the issue is it's not just the amount and the revenue; it's also the traffic.
Hmm.
If you're only doing 150,000 a month, you might only have 35,000 visits a month, something like that, and that's for your website as a whole, right? And then when you think, well, if we want to run a test on your PDP, if you hit the benchmarks for product views, and so you get 60% of your, or let's say 50% of your traffic hitting a PDP, that means we're only looking at 15 to 20,000 sessions on the PDP, split into two for an A/B test. So what's that? 7.5 to 10K,
Hmm.
right? We're most likely looking at 6 to 8 weeks to get a result there, to get a confident result. So it just means that we can't run enough tests to make it worthwhile on that model.
Makes sense.
So we do actually have an offer now. We've launched a CRO Kickstarter offer for smaller brands, which is all about getting the fundamentals in place around usability, anxiety, motivation. But yeah, the performance offer itself, yeah, kind of 400 or 500K plus in revenues is kind of a good spot for it.
And the Kickstarter, it doesn't work on a percent model.
No, it is just a flat fee. It can't work on a percent model.
Yeah, of course.
The model just doesn't work like that.
Yeah. Okay. Great. I think we're at time here. So if there's
Cool.
anything else that you'd like to add, but I mean, this was really insightful for me.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, if people want to find me, LinkedIn's the best place. Put a lot of content on there about CRO. And I posted the podcast there, which is also the Customers Who Click podcast. So you can look that up.
Very cool. Got to check that out. All right, Will, thank you for your time. Thanks everyone for watching. Catch you on the next one. Bye.
Thanks. Cheers.